Howdy all, this is Texas Gaming Industries here, and welcome back to Episode 9, Part 2 of my Let's Play Transport Fever 2. In the previous episode, we arrived in Switzerland, and we have a bit of a big financial problem right now as our company is basically in debt. But with all my vehicles put to work, we should be able to cover that debt, hopefully, well, eventually. And in this episode, we're going to continue doing that as our vehicles are now, with everybody traveling by train and cargo being produced, we will basically be able to get past this reducing losses contract that we need to complete in order to continue on with this mission. So let's see. Swiss Italy Express 95 heading for Zurich. And 1.22 million credits on that from passengers alone. Who knew I would make a lot of money on that? Let's see. Well, hmm. Well, my trains are making a bit of a profit now. Hopefully, that will basically get my company into the green again, or into the black, as they say.
Although
Ah,
resources are scarce, basic passenger service is supposed to remain guaranteed, and the electrification of routes would even allow money to be saved in the long term.
which is already being done already, so we should get this done with no trouble.
Dark clouds are gathering. The mood among the neighbouring countries is turning increasingly hostile. The Swiss Federal Council has decided to prepare for all contingencies. It needs your help so that Switzerland could defend its neutrality in the event of war. All arrangements are to be made for a state of emergency. The militia ought to be mobilized. Storage facilities must be stocked. It's advisable to create reserves so that the country could withstand a siege by hostile forces for as long as possible. At the same time, life goes on, and day-to-day needs still want to be met.
So we basically need to at least deliver 25% of foods to local towns, as well as deliver 100 units of grain at either the north or south. As now there are grain warehouses waiting for deliveries. However, though, due to the financial problems, we are basically unable to do all of this. Though, I think train number 12 could basically fill the role in freight train A2 for a little while. At least until we have enough money for a train to cover its services and let it return to the Romans Horn branch line. Let's actually have a look at my services. Which one is making the most? Swiss Freight A1 is making the most, but let me see what else. Well, it's fluctuating, but the least unprofitable is Swiss Italy Mineral. That's because it hasn't even been fully loaded with coal or iron ore yet. However, though, this train is finally left with its load of iron ore, and is basically made about nearly 2 million credits. Hopefully, with the delivery of iron ore across the Goffard Tunnel and into Switzerland, we might be able to basically keep our, well, profits and our expenses down. And plus, with the Swiss to Italy Express having over 200 passengers, see how much this train makes. 3.78 million credits, and 158 people just hopped on board for the ride. Something tells me that these transcontinental trains are definitely the most hard-earned moneymakers. Same for the Swiss Express, as it's been making enough money to nearly cover its expenditures, but hopefully we might be able to earn at least enough money to basically pay back the loan as well as getting new equipment eventually. Speaking of which, where is that other freight train? The one with the iron ore on board. Oh, here we are. Swiss Italy Mineral. As it's already got through the Godford Tunnel, and it's now making its way to St. Gallen. But at least the grain reserves are starting to be filled up. Speaking of which, where is that train? Ah, there it is. We'll need to reassign you to Swiss Freight A2. I know, but the food production can wait a little bit. It'll make a run through the industrial zone, and then just round the lake and head into Friedrichshafen. That's how I'm pronouncing it, by the way. Plus, our passengers are being dropped off by the buses so they can head into the station to catch their trains to their appropriate destinations. And with the arrival of this, we should earn quite a decent amount of money. 6.11 million credits. And with all this iron ore, the trucks will finally be loaded and take the iron ore into town, which will help the town grow exponentially. Though one truck hasn't even been fully loaded. So let me see. Why are we not getting a lot of coal out? Let me see. Ah, it's needed in the industrial districts. No wonder. Let me see. How are we gonna fix this? Well, I could basically decrease the loan a little, but then that expenditure is just gonna be hitting me hard. Speaking of which, I need to give this company a name. We'll just be calling ourselves the Swiss Federal Railways and Transportation. So we not only cater to the railways, but also to other forms of transport that keep Switzerland moving. Let's see. Charts 250, 250 exactly. 486 loaded in, well, September of 1930. Speaking of which, where is the express? Ah, making its way back to Zurich with 143 riders on board. Alright, down to 23 million. If I just keep my business ethics going as much as possible, I might be able to earn enough money to basically cover my debt and get my entirety of my operations into the black again. Plus, that iron ore train basically covered the entirety of its maintenance costs. 216,000 credits. At least the North Grain warehouse will basically keep my profits up a little bit. Though I think it's best to re-roster Swiss Freight A2 while the train running on this route and head it back to Swiss Freight A1. Let's see.
War has broken out. Switzerland is surrounded on all sides by warring factions. A tricky situation. The Axis powers of Germany and Italy want to conduct transit from north to south through the Gotthard Tunnel, and the Allies won't like that. The alternative will be to blow up the tunnel. Then no one will get through anymore. Which is the lesser of the two evils? A decision must be made. Will Switzerland anger the Axis powers by blowing up the mined Gotthard Tunnel? Or should this key north-south link remain intact?
And by link, the most profitable of my trains are the Swiss and Italy Express going through the Gotthard Tunnel. So I'm sorry, but I'm afraid we can't blow that up if we're going to get out of debt. but I don't want Italy to invade Switzerland. This is a very, very difficult decision.
Jews are no longer safe beyond the border. Despite this, the Swiss government is no longer willing to grant them asylum. Captain Grunier, a courageous commanding police officer from St. Gallen, isn't prepared to go along with this policy. Help him to protect people whose lives and freedom are in danger from being persecuted.
Well, of course.
Bring people secretly across the border by bus without getting caught.
Which we can't basically do due to my strained finances. So basically, it's going to take a bit of a while before I can finally basically get any sort of transport done. So, what service is making the loss? Train Swiss A, freight train A, truck service, Italy passenger, bus routes. Hmm. Well, my Swiss freight will be making a profit pretty soon. Speaking of which, where is that Italy just here it is. It just made a delivery of coal, so it made about 3.82 million credits. Though I'm risking it. I'm gonna increase this to 15 million credits. Hopefully, I might be able to get it out of debt faster. Or get it into deeper debt. But fortunately, most of the passengers riding my trains are able to get to where they need to go. And plus, those intercity express trains are basically making a pretty penny. So Swiss Express and the Swiss to Italy Express. As this train, for example, has made 7.8048 million credits already. That is basically the most profitable passenger train I ever had. 1.72 million, and I believe this train is basically made about 1.88. That's pretty good. This should cover my debt out a little bit. I guess most of this episode is going to basically be me trying to get the debt out of my head. But as for the Gotthard Tunnel, we're not blowing it up.
Well, there you go. Hopefully it was the right decision. Due to wartime food shortages, collecting Maybucks is made compulsory. School children are sent off to gather all of the bucks. The purpose? To produce animal feed. Make your buses available to them for it.
Which we need to sell 5 buses, but here's the catch. My buses need to stay in service if they're going to help get passengers to ride my trains. Though bus route A, B, and C could basically be sold off for now.
In these hard times, everything is in short supply. The little there is calls for distributing it fairly.
And now we have to get this stuff delivered from the various grain facilities, the storage warehouses, to the food processing plants. But surprisingly, we're almost out of debt. We're in negative 6.39 credits, but this express should basically cover some of that debt out. Yep, that should basically get some of the debt out of the company, and as more people are riding it, so will more profits coming into the company. And the Swiss to Italy Express has arrived at its destination with a 2.39 million credit deposit. That's good. And plus, fruit is still being produced. And according to the studies, the freight train basically made about 1.30 last year. Well, earlier this year. So, in hindsight, the food trains are basically very much profitable. The freight train A1 in Italy is not going to do much in profits because the grain facility here is not even open, I guess. I'm not so sure. But the company should be getting out of debt pretty soon, as we're now at negative 3 million credits. Okay, now it's back to 5 million. But it's doing a lot better than it did previously, as this international mineral train is basically doing. Just needs a little more coal. I need the money, so I'm turning it around. So it will drop off its load there. And goodness me, the Swiss Italy Express is going to be packed for the return trip. And there's already 202 passengers aboard on this train. It just needs to do is just go around this corner and head towards Zurich, while the Swiss Express basically makes its usual stops. 201,000. Let's see. 3.77 million, if that's correct. No, I don't want to visit your house. But yeah, 3.77 million credits. Food has been delivered to the towns, but reserves need to be taken care of. Well, not now, at least. Let's see. Maybe I can reorganize this train. Have a full load, and then deliver it here. Once this train arrives at its destination, I'll reassign it to that service. And once the reserves have been delivered, then we can basically get back to getting more money to basically pay off my company debt. There we go. Now that the grain has been delivered, this train basically made about 1.88 million credits. That should basically get a little bit of extra cash into my company account. Let's see, Italy Express 233. Though the train's kind of looking a little old right now. Now that I don't basically have the vehicles in good condition, they're all going to look this bad. But once I earn enough money from these operations and basically get into the black again, I probably will be able to get them all completely renovated. And look at that! We're finally out of the black! After being in debt for over a year, now it's back in the red. But not as bad, though. We can basically still make up that problem with a little bit of freight delivered by many of my trains on the map, including this grain train, this Arnold train, and of course the Express, with 118 people on board. The reason why I like using the express trains is they can make multiple stops and have a huge capacity at high speed. So that way, trains will not only roll into the stations with a fine looking train, but they'll pick up passengers bound for their final destination. And look at that! We have finally earned enough. But before we do that, we need to get two of our buses back. Bus route A, bus route B, and bus route C. Though we might actually call this C1, as I have a better idea. As instead of one bus serving this town, there'll be another bus going over into Bergen. This will be very beneficial, as since there's no trains that are connected between that are running between St. Gallen and here, the buses can have a free reign of transporting people. upgrade that to a double road. Perfect. And as well in town, we'll call this intercity. Oh, hang on. Call this intercity bus. And give it this dark gray coat. And we'll put 2 in that service so they can at least be able to keep passengers on this route. Let's see. Well, the passenger trains are going, and we're making a pretty good penny. Might as well reduce some of that debt by paying back my loans. Let's see. Intercity bus is doing well. The express has 163 passengers. So I think we'll basically do it for this episode. So we enjoyed this episode on my Let's Play at Transport Fever 2. Please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Texas Gaming Industries for new video uploads every Friday or Saturday, depending on my outside schedule. And I want to thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!